All right, so it's not every day that we actually get a cool piece of computer hardware tech, in my opinion, in the garage. A lot of stuff I get are old Optiplexes, Lenovo's, HPs, and some custom-built ones, but this one's actually pretty cool, and I decided to do a video and a review on it to see how well is it in today's standards and if it's actually a decent computer. So what we have here is the Alienware X51 R2. That's right, Alienware. Also Dell, another Dell. But a cool piece of Dell and a cool piece of Alienware that I wanted to talk about. This computer was actually released in 2013. It's a small form factor ITX build. And we're going to open it up. We're going to talk about the specs. And we're going to load up some Windows on it, maybe try to play some games, and see if this thing is actually pretty good or what we can use for it. So back in 2013, this computer was released. It actually came with an H87, Intel H87 chipset. And it came with three variants, the i3 4th gen, i5 4th gen, i7 4th gen. This is actually the i3 version of it. The cool thing about this computer is that it has its own little RGB. This actually lit up, and depending on the software that you use, you were able to get it just one color, just green, blue. I think it had some red or whatever effects. I don't know. I haven't really played with it. It has a front slot loader DVD drive, which I think is pretty cool. Your front I/O, your USB 3. Headphone, mic jack, and this is our power button right over here. Let's tap this in. Yeah, it's our power button, and this is just a badge. This is just purely cosmetic. On the other side, we also have the color for the RGB right there, and we'll take a look at the back. All right, the back of this thing, as you can see, has a dual slot, provisions for a dual slot video card, and we're actually going to talk about that in this one in particular. You have your adapter for your power adapter, and we'll talk more about that. More USB 3.0s, HDMI, your Ethernet, audio, jack over here. So overall, not too bad. All right, the plastic on this thing actually feels very flimsy, and I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but I mean, it kind of creaks and cracks very easily, and I'm not a huge fan of that. So, but all right, let's get this thing on the bench. Let's change the view of this angle. Let's open it up, and let's talk more about the specs. All right, so now that we got different angles, we're going to go ahead and open it up. The way this opened it up is it's just one screw in the back. We'll loosen up the screw right over here real quick. Just using our Phillips #2 screwdriver. This is our Be Quiet one. Very nice screwdriver. The coolest thing you get about their coolers, besides the fact that their coolers are pretty sweet. Just pop that open to the side, and here you go. Now, don't pull too hard, and as you can see, there's actually a connector over here which connects the little lighting effect over there. So we can kind of slide that out, maybe just to give us a little extra slack and room. All right, there we go. So we're going to take this thing apart, and we're going to talk about each of its components. So as you can see, the CPU just kind of has this duct channel thing where it kind of sucks out. Actually, this thing takes in cool air, takes in through here and whatever. So that's just two screws. Let's get these things out, as you can see right over here. Let's take that out. Now, I've already gone through this and I've cleaned it up a bit, so I'm not going to take the CPU apart for the simple fact that when I got this thing, it had a severe overheating issue, which the thermal paste literally disintegrated in front of my eyes. So this one is the i3 version. It's the 41, I forget which one it is, but it's the i3 4th gen, whatever it is. And this one's only running like at 3.5 gigahertz. So 2 cores, 2 threads, not the best, but hey, it works. This one comes with DDR3. This is the 6 gig variant. They came with a 4 gig, 6 gig, and an 8 gig. It is fully upgradable up to 16 gigs of RAM. This one is only 6 gigs of DDR3, 1600. So we can max it out if we want to do that. And we'll talk more about the upgrade path for this and a few options. 2 screws right over here. Let's see if I could adjust my camera. There we go. 1 screw over here, 1 screw over here. Take these out, and we can slide out our graphics card. All right, just kind of pull, nice and easy. I mean, this case is a little nerve-wracking because it's very flimsy in a sense, but it works. And here's our graphics card. Nothing to brag about. It's a GTX 645. It only has 1 gig of DDR5 memory. It did come in some other variants, and from what I gather, and let me pull up this information over here, you can either put a 645, 660, and a 670 with this setup. And we're going to talk about that in just 1 second. So 1 gig of DDR5. I actually got to take this thing apart, put some fresh thermal paste because we also have an overheating issue with this. Blower style cooler, which for small cases that are enclosed like this with limited airflow, blower style is actually work pretty well as far as keeping the heat from contaminating anything else. So let's put this to the side. Our hard drive is a 1 terabyte Seagate Barracuda. These are actually pretty good drives. SATA would have been ideal, but I guess back in that time, the SATA would have actually put the cost up for this computer astronomically and not be worth it. Let's get this this DVD writer drive. It's a slot load, which when I used to have DVD drives, I love the slot loads. This one just kind of slides out after you pull that screw. All right, and let's just kind of unplug this real quick. All right, so let's take a look at this. This is actually an ITX motherboard. Well, ITX Dell-ish type motherboard. And it comes with a built-in Wi-Fi, so you have Wi-Fi over here. This little proprietary battery. So if this battery goes bad, you have to get this type of setup over here. How fun is that? And if you look over here, the power supply setup that they have for it. Regular ATX power supply adapter. Just a little cool a little bit, and then from the power supply actually goes up into this little piece right over here, if you can see that with my finger right over there, and it gets power from this brick. All right, this is the brick that they use. This comes in 2 variants depending on the setup that you had for this computer. So 240 watt, or you can get a 330 watt. Now with the 240 watt, you were actually able to run a GTX 645, 660, and a 670, and that was the power that you needed to run those video cards. You can upgrade the video card over here. If you invest in 330 watt, which I was looking online, they're going for about $60, $70. You could put a GTX 745, 750, 760 Ti, 960. And reading online, people have actually been able to put a 1060 and a 970 in there. And like I said, we're going to talk about the upgrade path a little later and my thoughts on this. So the interior, I mean, nothing too fancy. If you wanted to, I'm sure you could take this motherboard and pop it in a better ITX case, but then you're going to have to deal with pinning for the front I/O, and then I'm sure Dell has some proprietary way to make sure that you can't change their case on it. So very small, lightweight. This one actually weighs in at 12.1 pounds. The width is 13.5 inches. The diameter is 12.5 inches, and the height is 3.7 inches. So it's actually a great small form factor case if you want to just put it in your living room, take it on the go. I mean, just different options that you want to do. With the built-in Wi-Fi, that's actually a really cool feature. So this is the computer. This is the setup. What we're going to do is we're actually going to install Windows as is with this 1 terabyte. We're not going to do anything else. Let's run it. Let's see how it runs with Windows 10. See if we can play a game or two, and then we'll talk about my thoughts on this computer in the end. All right, so we got our Dell put back together. Excuse me, Alienware put back together. And let's go ahead and fire it up. Let's hit this power button and let's see if hopefully I didn't fire anything. And as you can see, our lights are green. And let's try to see if we can get into our BIOS screen. All right, my display cable came loose, but we got that plugged back in. So we're into the BIOS. Just press F2 to get into the BIOS. And as you can see, it's a very standard BIOS. So the build date on this is November 18, 2013, service tag, all that good stuff, 6 gigs of DDR RAM, DDR3, hard drives installed. I mean, really not too many things that you can actually do with it. Let's go through it, see if I see anything that could actually stick out. No. Security, boot, and that's about it. So, you know, no overclocking features, which, you know, we kind of figured that out. But it's good. It is what it is. What we're going to do now is we're going to install Windows. I just want to show the BIOS. But as you can see, and let's move this camera around. I guess the factoring settings are set to green, and I think there's a software we could change it. And you can see that green right over there. Let's turn some of this light off. There we go. Now you see the green. And you can see the Alien logo is also green eyes. Let's see if I can put that in there. There we go. Green eyes. Oh, yeah. Classy. So let's go ahead and install Windows 10, and let's boot it up, and let's see what we can do with this thing, if anything. All right, so we're back, and after a brief install of Windows and downloading Fortnite on this computer, we're rolling. So the question is, does this thing play Fortnite? Yes, and it's actually not too bad of a playing experience. I have it at 1024 with low settings, and it's not too bad. It's smooth, has its occasional stutters, but I mean, what do you expect for a computer that's 7 years old, has 1 gig of DDR5 VRAM on the memory, and it's only an i3 running 2 cores. So for anybody looking for an old computer and they can find these things pretty cheap, it's actually not too bad. I mean, the gameplay experience is actually pretty good, and I'll be honest with you, I'm actually impressed with how this computer runs. Now, the temps on this computer just become a little warm. It likes to sit in the 70s and has, like I said, occasional stutters. But, I mean, if you keep it in a decent ventilated area, you should have no issues with the temperatures. They are manageable, they are bearable. The fans tend to ramp up, and they're not too bad. A little noisy, but nothing unbearable, and nothing that you're just gonna pretty much hate yourself for it. So overall, this computer actually runs pretty well, and with this GTX 645, you have a little budget Fortnite computer. Now, I attempted to load several other games, and most modern day games that are a little more intense would not even load. I mean, the frames were like 5 to 7. I know Shadow of the Tomb Raider just wouldn't even load, and other games just crashed, so didn't even bother to try to benchmark those or anything like that. But everybody's favorite Fortnite runs pretty good. So let me get out of this game and let me wrap this up real quick. All right, so to sum this up, the Alienware X51 R2. Let me give you my final thoughts on it. This is actually a pretty cool computer, but it's with its flaws. Number one, the temperatures are a little higher, especially considering this build. It has an old video card. The memory is only 6 gigs, and it's running an i3. So now, is this computer something that's worth upgrading and tweaking it out? Like I always say in most videos, yes and no. There's pros and cons to everything, and you just got to decide what you want to do with it. So now, in this case, this computer was just given to the channel, and we're using it for video content. Now, if I was to pay $150 to $200 for this computer, would I spend the money to upgrade it? Let's talk about that. So now, you're pretty much limited on the graphics card you can do. The highest you could get in there is a 1060, and primarily you run into this issue because you have the power supply issue. And the issue with the power supply is that it has the external brick, which is, let me see if I get that right over here. I unplugged my monitor. Yep, you have your external brick. There we go, let's get this back in. And this external brick right over here is only capable of 240 watts. So with that, you would actually have to get another one, which they're about $60, and it's about 330 watts, and the best graphics card you could hope to put in here is actually a GTX 1060. Still a good video card, but you're gonna spend $60 for this. You're gonna spend probably $120 for a GTX 1060, because that's where I'm seeing them around right now. And you're at $180. So now you're still running an i3, and considering that you're running this i3, you're gonna have to get an i7 to actually make it good. You could try an i5, but really the best bet would be an i7 4th gen. Those are running about also $120. So you're almost at $300 just for a power supply, video card, and a CPU. Not to mention, you'd want to throw in a solid state. So let's estimate, I don't know, $50 for a 500 gig solid state, so $350. And you're gonna need to upgrade the RAM, so maybe another $40 for RAM. So what's the math I'm coming out? So we're about $350, $390. So let's just make math easy, $350. So now you spend $350, plus you probably spend about $150 for this, so you're at $500 in total. Is $500 worth it for this computer? Absolutely not. $500, you could get a Ryzen 5 2600, an RX 470, better video card, better everything. DDR4, that's gonna have a better upgrade path, and it's gonna run 20 times better than this. This, you're limited on what you can upgrade, and the only good thing I say this computer has going for itself is that it's small, it's convenient. I could tuck this away as a home theater PC, which actually might be a good idea. Or if you like to travel and you like to take a computer with you and you just want something low in the budget, this is actually a pretty good computer to travel with. So just something to keep in mind. So that's my thought on this Alienware computer. I enjoy it. It's a real cool computer. Don't know what I want to do with it yet. And yeah, so overall, does 2013 meet 2020? Not really. Can we make it meet 2020? Yeah, absolutely, but you gotta realize it's $350 worth it for a computer that you're gonna max out and maybe, just maybe, get another year of decent gaming and decent performance. So the i7 4th gen is a real good CPU. The 1060 is okay, but how far do you wanna go? And don't even think about putting a Radeon the RX series up in here, because the RX 470, 480, the TDP and these are a lot higher, and I'll tell you that the 330 watts will definitely not handle it. So comment down below, let me know what you think about this Alienware computer. Do you like it? Do you enjoy it? What should we do with it? I would love to get some input from everybody just to see what should we do with this. I mean, should we just go all out, try to max out the CPU specs, GPU specs, and make it something fun? Should we make a home theater PC? Should we cut a hole in it and paint it? I mean, I don't know. I would love to hear some feedback on it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're not. Thanks for watching, and we'll see what we come up with next.